Hello, this is a video about using autofocus with a micro four thirds camera and an APS C camera. What we're looking at here is the LCD of a Panasonic G5, which has a 45 to 175 zoom, a telephoto zoom lens on it, and on the front of that is a Raynox 250. It's a very overcast day here, late in the afternoon here in the UK, and there's not much light, so I'm illuminating the subject to give the cameras a fair chance of being able to focus. The Canon in particular that I'll be using does need a good bit of light in order to be able to focus effectively. So I'm going to move the camera, and now I can't focus because the distance between the subject and the camera isn't suitable. And with these close-up lenses, these achromats, it's important to get the subject right. So here we are, I've got the subject at the right distance, and I can now autofocus on various bits of it and so on. So that works fine. I'm now going to zoom in and try again. There we go, it's still focusing okay. So this is pretty easy. It's was it 12.5mm across, so it's not all that much magnification, and autofocus is just working fine. You might wonder, by the way, about, look, what's the big deal here? He's moving the camera backwards and forwards. Why doesn't he just use manual focus and have done with it? The answer is that I'm only moving the camera enough to get it roughly in focus. If you want to get the focus point exactly where you want it, which with macro and close-up is inevitably the case that you do want to, because the depth of focus, depth of field is so narrow. If you're doing that with manual focus, you have to look pretty hard at the scene. You have to move the camera backwards and forwards and concentrate your eyes on what's going on and choose the moment at which to press the shutter button. Here I can be nice and relaxed. All I've got to do is to point that thing, which at the moment is in the middle, but I could move it elsewhere. Make sure it's pointing where I want the maximum focus to be, the best focus to be, and move it enough so that it looks, it's somewhat in focus. And if I press the shutter button, I get a green, the square goes green, which confirms that it's finding focus, and I get a double beep. So I can be quite relaxed about it, and I don't have to move backwards and forwards and so on. It's quite quick to do. The other thing is that, and I find that less taxing over a long period than having to use my eyes and keep scrutinising closely what's going on. I can do this without really paying a great deal of attention to it. And that leaves me free to pay attention to things like what's happening around the outside, thinking about composition and so on. What's happening with that little insect that's coming in from over there, so I can sort of half watch it at the same time as I'm taking pictures, and then maybe move across, see it coming, see the two of them joining up and so on. So there are advantages, I think, to this. What I'm going to do now is to try doing the same thing with my Canon 70D. It has on it a 55 to 250 telephoto lens, very similar to the one on the Panasonic, and it has exactly the same close-up lens, a Raynox 250. So if I go to full wide angle, and I'm going to lift it a bit, well, let's move the focus point so that, there we go, the camera's still on the table and nice and stable. Not the right distance at the moment. Oh, it's still, yeah. The Canon is more fussy about exactly how far I am away from the subject, so I do have to quite often work a bit harder, try 2 or 3 times, Occasionally I just can't get it to focus, but it's doing okay at the moment. Let's take it all out, completely out of focus, then go in and try. There we go. Now I'll try doing. Oops, go down, move this down. Try here. Oh no, it didn't do it. I need to move. Oh, I need to move a bit more. There we go. It's doing it now. I don't need to keep moving that box. I could, just point it in a different direction. And there we go. That was not too bad. And that's done it as well. So it's doing quite well. It's a bit more choosy about what it does than the Panasonic. Now I've zoomed to gone to full zoom, pull the camera back, and we're dealing now with a scene which is about 12 millimeters across. And yep, that picked up okay on that. Let's try it on the background. I'll have to move in a bit. Yep, it picked that up okay. So again, it's doing. It's not doing too badly at all. So what I'm going to try and do now is to make my life more difficult, and I'm going to take off these moderately powerful close-up lenses and instead put on a really strong one, the MSN 202, and this makes life much more difficult. Now I have to get very close to the subject here. I go to wide angle, and there it is, and I have to get the distance right. And if I want to do the background, I have to move in a bit more, do the ruler again, do the background again. Again, the Panasonic is pretty nippy at what it lets you do. And we're dealing with a scene which is 15 mil across. So I'm now going to zoom right in. This is where it gets difficult. There we go. Oh, and it caught it straight away. It doesn't always do that. That's about 4 mil across, which is the maximum magnification I can get with this. There we go. No, it doesn't like that. Pull back a bit and try the ruler. No. So it is more difficult to get this to work. See, I can't, there we go. I don't think that was in focus anyway. That one was. So in principle it works. In practice at this point I'm generally using fixed focus and moving the camera backwards and forwards. But it does, in principle it does work. And sometimes it can be useful. I hardly ever use magnifications of that amount. Okay, now with the Canon, I need to put the MSN 202 onto it, and we'll see how I get on with this. Okay, so if I go to, I don't know what it is I'm pressing there. Oh, I go to wide angle, turn it the other way, that's helpful. And there we go. And let me see. Oh, no. Yeah, there it goes. And the background. Yep. And it's doing well. It's doing well. Yeah, that was the ruler. Now the background. Well, no, I didn't move the camera first. Well, there we go. That's with the scene which is 15, 16 mil, something like that. So if I go to full telephoto, and now, oops, I hit the target. There we go. So we're dealing with a scene which is, oh, it hit it first time, that's unusual, about 4 millimeters across. Let me take it out of focus and try doing it again. Okay, it's doing it. Perhaps I'm getting better at this, I don't know. Oh, it caught it there as well. That's good. Let's try it over here. Yeah. I don't know that that one was actually in focus. Oh, my hand's getting tired. I'm holding the camera at a very awkward angle here. Anyway, there we go. We're dealing with a scene which is, what did we say, 4mm across, and we're using autofocus. Now this, in both cases, has been using contrast detect. Using the LCD, contrast detect focusing is very accurate. What I'm going to try and do now, and I don't know quite what's going to happen as far as what you see is concerned, the top of my head probably, I'm going to try using phase detect focusing. So I'm going to move the camera so it's definitely out of focus at this point, and put my eye up to the camera and squint through. It's a really awkward angle. Push the camera in and see if I can get it to focus. Well, it said then that it focused, but actually it didn't. But there we go. It's with phase detect focusing through the viewfinder. It's possible again at around 4.5 or so millimeters. So there we are, focusing, autofocusing with a Micro Four Thirds camera and an APS C camera using a close-up lens or close-up lenses. It's possible, although at the higher magnifications it's not necessarily useful. So that's it. Bye bye.